What's going on, everybody? Coach Mike here with a very cold strength coach thoughts here in San Antonio, Texas. It is a high of 32 degrees today. So I'm still in the garage. I am still doing the podcast on a Friday. Like I say, I will do every week. So as always, I'm not wearing one now because I have a hat on. It's cold. But if you like the headbands that I frequently wear, they are vertical athletics headbands. Use code Coach Mike at checkout to get 15% off your order. And check it out. They have fleece headbands to keep your ears and your head warm when it's cold out. So the owner of the company just went skiing a ski trip with it, and it worked really well. So if you're interested in fleece headbands, in cooling headbands, any kind of sun cooling apparel, check out Vertical Athletics for 15. Use code Coach Mike for 15% off of your order. Now, starting off as always, it's a white Monsty kind of day. Cheers. All right, so today's Strength Coach Thoughts is the last blog article I wrote. After this blog article, I switched jobs, and then I ran out of time to write. I just didn't have time to write blogs. So moving forward from this blog or from this Strength Coach Thoughts episode, it's going to be free form. I'm going to pick a topic, and I'm going to give you my real thoughts on it. I might do some research ahead of time to make sure I'm not talking out my ass, but it's not going to be the blog form where I read you the blog and then I give my current thoughts on the old blog that I wrote on September 2nd of 2022 is this one. So you see, I got a little space heater here next to me. So I'm just, if you see me moving around in weird positions, I'm just warming up. So, okay. So today's episode is a modern assessment of body composition and the obesity epidemic. I know, big scary words there. So to start off, okay, so according to the American College of Sports Medicine, approximately 70% of the U.S. population are classified as either overweight or obese. Overweight being BMI over 25, with approximately 40% being classified as obese, BMI over 30. Including 7% with severe obesity, BMI over 40. And that is according to the American College of Sports Medicine in 2020. Additionally, some statistics report up to 32% of children and adolescents are overweight or obese, with roughly 18% of children aged 6 to 11 and roughly 21% of adolescents aged 12 to 19 being categorized as obese. Categories of BMI include underweight, is less than 18.5. Normal is 18.5 to 24.9. Overweight is 25 to 29.9. And then obesity is in three classes. So class 1 obesity is 30 to 34.9. Class 2 is 35 to 39.9. And then class 3 is greater than 40. And those are from the American College of Sports Medicine. So the problem with obesity comes with significant health risks. I think we all know that. The risks, however, do significantly increase per tier of obesity. So tier 1 is healthier than tier 3, tier 3 being the most at risk for diseases and chronic illnesses and whatnot. So around 2002 compares the portion of disease risk attributable to obesity as the following. So diabetes type 2, 61%. Uterine cancer, 34%. Gallbladder disease, 30%. Osteoarthritis, 24%. Hypertension, 17%. Coronary heart disease, 17%. And breast and colon cancer as 11%. So those are how high of risk you are to get those diseases or conditions based on just being obese, no matter what tier you are, tier 1, 2, or 3. All right. So additionally, as I've already said, the higher the BMI, the higher the risk category for disease, starting at overweight, providing an increased risk in men and a high risk in women. Obesity 1 brings it up to a high risk for men and a very high risk for women. Obesity 2, category 2, rising to very high for men and very high for women, And finally, obesity 3, raising both to extremely high risk for both men and women. So, the problem with obesity, right? Getting to the problem of this. As mentioned, obesity can be associated with an increased risk for various diseases. Obesity, um, so obesity specifically, not overweight, obesity has been directly linked to chronic conditions such as cancer, cardiovascular disease, depression, type 2 diabetes, among other diseases and conditions. This not only shortens the potential lifespan and reduces the quality of life for the individual, but on the scale it is at, or as the large scale it's at, it puts a significant strain on the healthcare system. Um, in addition to health concerns, social changes have increased the cost of programs encouraging healthy lifestyles and modifications to buildings and public spaces to accommodate the heavier person. So this can be linked to, if you've seen on here on YouTube or on the social medias, the plus size travel people that are advocating for airplanes to have bigger seats and accommodate their bigger size. That is what I am talking about the significant cost to infrastructure and buildings and businesses to try to accommodate this disease. And I will use that word here. Obesity and overweight and obesity is a disease. It is um a state of abundance in the body to where the body has to start storing the energy, the fat, right, in different places. So once you run out, once you're eating too many calories, that your body starts storing the energy away. That's what we're designed to do evolutionarily, right? We didn't know where our food was coming from, so we used the energy we needed and we stored the rest in case we didn't get that food coming up. Then we could use it, which is when the fat burn comes in, which is why you go into calorie deficits to burn fat. Anyway, the reason this leads to a lot of problems though is because when you get to a certain level, right, you get to that obesity class 3 level, let's say, your body has nowhere else to start storing this fat. So then it starts storing it around the liver, around the pancreas, around the kidneys, around, it starts lining cells, it starts lining vasculature, it starts taking up space that it shouldn't be at, which then increases your risk for hypertension, for kidney disease, for um, other liver, like all these other diseases that depending on where the body's storing the fat at. Anyway, I back to the blog here. So that's what I'm getting at with the cost on businesses and infrastructure, societal costs, right? So finally, the increase in obesity has disqualified a lot of people from military service and public service, i.e., police and firefighting, and has reduced the number of children participating in sports at any level. Those are two major factors, right? I know being in the military space myself, working in tactical, and working in collegiate too, like in high schools and stuff. The high school I was at, we were getting further and further away from PE classes and places STEM classes, which is fine. But you can have the smartest STEM people, but if they're obese and they're living to 20 because they have a heart attack at 20, it doesn't matter how smart they are at STEM. Like they're not contributing to society. Um, so the military, police, and fire. I know a lot of different programs are trying different things. I know the Army has a like before boot camp fitness program that they are trying out. With I haven't heard much about the success of that. I know the Army has their H2F initiative, which is trying to help currently active and commissioned, enlisted and commissioned service members direct their fitness, get dietitians, get sleep and mental counseling and all that kind of stuff. That program is kind of a colossal failure right now, unfortunately. Um, but we're missing the mark with that one because we're getting them in. They're not even qualified for military service because they're too obese to even sign up for the military. They're too obese for the basic, pretty low. I mean, the physical standards to join the military are pretty low. No matter what branch you're in. I mean, now if you want to start talking about elite units and trying to be good in the military, then yeah, your physical standards start getting much higher. But to join the military, they're very low standards. And we have a large majority of our population that aren't even qualified based on just their BMI, which I'm going to get into BMI, but based on their body composition, they're not even qualified to join the military to even try the fitness standards, right? So, let alone they probably couldn't do the fitness standards because schools are getting more and more away from fitness, from PE classes and recess and all that, in place of adding more math and STEM and all that stuff, which again, I think we're putting the cart before the horse there. We have a lot of research that shows that physical activity stimulates mental activity. So basically, if you have a kid eat lunch, go at recess after lunch, they're not going to have that after lunch, nap time where they're, fourth period, fifth period or whatever, where they're half asleep, but that's math class or STEM class because they just ate lunch and now they want to go to sleep. No, if you give them you give them time to burn some energy off or get the metabolism going to actually give them 20 minutes at recess, 30 minutes at recess to actually metabolize the lunch they just ate. They're going to come back with more energy and their brain is going to have more fuel and more ability to function because they just got air. They just got blood flow. They just got all this activity to the brain that now you could throw a hard class in fourth to fifth period after recess or after just letting them outside to play. Or a PE class or whatever, and you're going to see better test scores. You're going to see better cognitive ability. Like the research is there, but we're getting further away from PE classes and stuff because it's just fun for kids, air quotes. But it's really cognitive development. I mean, we have a ton of research on that. That might be a whole nother episode, but I digress. So BMI, right? Talking about BMI specifically. BMI is a measure of body composition using height in meters and weight in kilograms. So BMI, all the numbers I gave were in kilograms over meters negative squared, and is largely considered among the health and fitness community, again, health and fitness community, as a flawed measurement system due to lack of other considerations, right? So I said BMI is measured on height in meters and weight in kilograms. That's it. It says there's an age component for the categorizations, but it's how tall are you? This is how much you should weigh. Does not consider anything else. Okay. Things that it should consider or that you should consider in healthy weight. All right. The fluid in your body, right? How hydrated are you or dehydrated are you? The interstitial fluid, the blood volume, like the cerebral spinal fluid, like all the fluid that's in the body. Bone mineral density, right? Bone muscle density too, like the muscle density, the bone density. A fat-free mass versus fat mass versus lean body. Like there's so many other ways to look at body composition that the BMI is just not the standard anymore. And it misses the mark on a lot of things is what I'm getting at. So, considerations of weight, fluids, bone muscle density, etc., and known deviations based on gender and ethnicity, right? So, we also know that one size doesn't fit all. If you're 6 foot tall, you're not going to weigh 200 pounds, and everybody's there. And if you don't, you start getting into obese categorizations. That's just not true. Famously, athletes are always going to be overweight or obese because they have muscle mass, they have bone density, they have they have meat on their bones that is not fat. It could be fat-free mass, but they're always going to be overweight and obese according to the system because it's only considering height and weight. So one study by Romero, Corral, et al. In 2008 performed a cross-sectional analysis of 13,000 subjects using both BMI and bioelectrical impedance in order to measure body fat percentage, which is also not a super. It's better than BMI, but it's not a super accurate way of measuring body composition either, because bioelectrical impedance is really dependent on how much the electrical current can go through your body, right? So if you're dehydrated, you're going to have a different score than when you're hydrated, and the electricity can flow through the fluid better. But to quote the finding here from the study, BMI has a limited diagnostic performance to correctly identify individuals with excess in body fatness, particularly for those with BMIs between 25 to 30 for men and for the elderly. BMI has a good general correlation with body fat percentage, but it fails to have to discriminate between body fat percentage and lean mass. In addition, the sensitivity of BMI over 30 to diagnose obesity is relatively low, missing more than half of the people with body fat percent to find obesity. While the specificity and positive predictive value are good, or while the specificity and positive predictive value are good. Furthermore, for a given BMI value, there is a significant intersubject variability in body fat percentage. So all that to say is BMI may be helpful, but it is not good for diagnosing anybody, because even the individual diagnosing could have variables going on that influence the weight of that day. I mean, this is an educational esque podcast, but females during their period are going to have a lower fluid volume because of losing blood volume than they would when they're not on their period. So we're talking intersubject variability. There's an intersubject variability right there. You do a BMI on a female during and not during period, and you're going to have different values just because of fluid volume and other changes, but also mostly specifically fluid volume there. So in addition to BMI, the waist to hip circumference can be used as measurement of assessing health. This is also the military uses a hip and neck taping method, at least in the Marines and the Army that I'm aware of. I don't know about the Navy and Air Force. But if you are overweight by BMI standards, then you would do a waist and neck taping to make sure you're within certain parameters there. So this is talking about the standardized waist hip circumferences that are most predominantly displayed in the ACSM exercise physiology world. So circumference measurements are clinically performed at the waist and hip, waist in centimeters over hips in centimeters, measuring the pattern of body fat distribution. Okay, distribution is significant here. Where the body stores fat is a helpful indicator of health and disease risk. Common types of obesity include android abdominal fat. So that's if you think the people with the belly fat. Increasing risk of hypertension, metabolic syndrome, diabetes type 2, dyslipidemia, cardiovascular. I'm not sure what that one was. CVS. I'm not sure. And premature death. When compared to gynoid or gynicoid, so the hip and thigh fat, so basically the people with the really wide hips but the slim torsos, or the really big thighs and hips and torsos, whatnot. It's just where the body's distributing fat. Visceral fat, so fat surrounding thoracic and abdominal cavities, also increases the risk of metabolic syndrome. So that is from ACSM as well. So I just shit on BMI and how bad BMI is. What's my solution, right? Never present a problem without a solution. So more reliable measures of body composition include skin fold measurements. Okay, that is the little pincher things. You get the skin fold calipers. You do 3 site, 5 site, 7 sites, and you pull them all together to see how much subcutaneous fat is kind of available. Yeah, that's very, very dependent on the person testing to have experience doing it. It is super reliable when somebody knows what they're doing. Densitometry. So basically you're measuring displacement of either water or air in a chamber. So you get inside of a chamber, you're holding a calibrated thing, and they know the weight of that thing. They know the displacement of the air in that with that thing. And then they measure the displacement with you in there. And then they're able to see through a bunch of science and stuff that I don't really understand. They're able to measure a bunch of different stuff. So DEXA and bioelectrical impedance, both are just bioelectrical impedance things. So as I said, skin fold measurements can be performed as a 3 site or a 7 site. There's also a 5 site, but with the 7 site being more precise. Skin fold involves the measuring of thickness at various sites in the body through the pinching of subcutaneous fat and tissue. Densitometry involves the measurement of the density of the body through a ratio of body mass to body volume, where the most common density is hydrodensitometry, which measures the displacement of water in the presence of the individual. So basically how much the water rises when the subject is immersed. So I was confusing DEXA and densitometry there. So This works due to the higher density of bone and muscle tissue and lower density of fat tissue. If two subjects were being measured with the same body mass, the person with more fat-free mass would weigh more in the water than the other person with a higher fat percentage. Okay, that's coming from ACSM. DEXA uses X-ray in order to measure bone mineral density as well as soft tissue mass. DEXA is not commonly used outside of schools, laboratories, or hospitals or military due to its specialized and expensive nature. Other methods include bioelectrical impedance and ultrasound, which utilize either electrical current or ultrasound to measure interference and associate the interference with body fat percentage. So those are all more reliable measures than BMI, basically. So finishing up here, although the standard tool for measuring body composition is the BMI, there is still a significant percentage of the population that is obese. This obesity epidemic stems from an increasingly sedentary lifestyle with the increase in desk jobs, the reduction of trade jobs, and the reduction of recess, outdoor time, physical education in schools, right? The schools aren't teaching good nutrition information. Schools aren't teaching good physical literacy anymore, if they're teaching those things at all. So I mean, I'm going to get into this with my afterthoughts, but we're setting society up to fail, to be obese. Like I said, I'll get into that here in a minute, but let me finish this. Children are participating in sports less at all levels. Adults are not engaging in enough physical activity throughout the week. And these changes are burdening society both fiscally and socially. A more obese society is sicker, with more chronic illnesses, higher rates of mental health disorders such as depression and anxiety, and less work or defense capability required. This is a scary trend to watch since the fast food industry is not slowing down and education and recess is being reduced in schools. We are putting ourselves on track to continue seeing an increase in societal obesity. I do not read these ahead of time. These are looking back in when I write these and I'm reading them to you and giving my real-time thoughts. My thoughts are still the same as when I wrote that. As you see, I was not reading that ahead of time. So again, 2020, I wrote this back when the anybody whatever is beautiful crap. I have two closing paragraphs here. Big is not beautiful. Big is sick. Okay. And I'm talking obese. I'm talking obesity. If you have Hafthor Bjornsson, and I'm not saying he's big. He is a large individual, but he is not obese, right? He is a large, healthy individual. If you are fat or you are obese, that is not beautiful. That is not healthy. There is no way to spin that to convince anybody that you are healthy. And if you are trying to convince your people and yourself that you're healthy, that circles back to the mental disorder I just mentioned. That's mental disorder. You are lying to yourself. You are sick, and that's fine. It's fine. We have cures for that. We have people like myself that help teach people how to exercise. We have dietitians that can help you, get on the right track. And I'm not saying they're going to cut out all the food in your life, but there are people that care about this, and there are people that want, society to be healthier because it helps society as a whole when people are healthier. It helps healthcare costs. It helps production of things. It helps people feel better in their lives, right? It's okay to recognize a problem and then be able to address that problem. Anyway, big is not beautiful. Big is sick. Our bodies are not meant to carry around excess weight. That is why obese people are at a higher risk for chronic diseases, musculoskeletal disorders, and mental health disorders. Fat shaming should, of course, be discouraged. However, obesity awareness is extremely important right now and needs to be pushed more than it is. Society cannot function without capable people, and currently a large number of people are not capable. Obese people need to be encouraged to seek help through registered dietitians and qualified trainers that know how to work with obese clients. They need to be encouraged. It's not fat shaming to encourage somebody to want to be healthy. It's not fat shaming to encourage somebody to want to turn their life around so they live a little bit longer and they live healthier. Or maybe if they don't live longer, the life they have left to live is a little bit better quality of life. That's not fat shaming. And if that is fat shaming, then I'm fat shaming all day because I want what's best for people. That's why I'm a coach. That's why I'm an educator. That's why I do these things, because I want people to live the best life they can. And being obese to where you can't function on your own without illness, without disability, without people helping you, like whatever, that's not a quality of life. And I want people to live a high quality of life, live the best life they can. That's not living the best life you can. That's why I'm very passionate about this, because I see the trend going in the wrong direction. But in conclusion, obesity is a significant problem facing America right now. There are various thoughts behind the rise in obesity, why it's rising. However, acceptance of obesity should not be encouraged. Again, this was written in 2020. We are trending away from the encouragement. I am happy to see that. But I don't think we are trending in the direction of making people healthy. I think we're just getting away from the big is beautiful and fit at any size or whatever movements there were. Thankfully, because that's the first step, is recognizing there is a problem. Obesity affects society in many ways, including financial strain, especially on the healthcare system, and infrastructure modifications to accommodate heavier people. There are various methods to measure body composition and body fat percentage, with the current practice being BMI, which is an unreliable measure. Other tools of measurement include skin fold, densitometry, and circumference tapings, among the others mentioned. Obesity needs to be reversed and should start with encouraging obese people to seek help from registered dietitians and qualified trainers to learn healthy habits and get their lives back on track. Now, I have 2 minutes left until this thing cuts me off. I said it needs to be reversed. I'm off of that. It doesn't need to be reversed. We need to start back in the schools. We need to start young. We need to teach children healthy eating. We need to teach children healthy physical activity, teach them exercise habits for life. When I was in the high school, part of my job of coaching the athletes was also coaching lifelong exercise habits. They were learning how to design a basic strength program. They were learning how to use the different barbells, weights, machines, whatever we had. They were learning that when they graduated high school, if they never went into college sports, they could still walk into a personal, like a big global gym, and do a somewhat decent program because of the lessons I taught them. And I was doing that during weights, I was taking time out of other stuff to make that happen, because the nutrition class they were getting was absolute garbage. And the PE class was combined with the weights class. So it was all one class. So we had to take it upon ourselves to do that. But that was taking it upon ourselves to do that. That was not curriculum. That was not like what the school was teaching. That was us teaching that. So it needs to start in the schools. And if you're somebody that knows somebody that can get that going, please do. But anyway, I'm Coach Mike. This has been Strength Coach Thoughts, assessing modern obesity epidemic and body composition methods. Again, make sure you use code Coach Mike for 15% off your order with Vertical Athletics. They got headbands, cooling headbands, fleece headbands, sun stuff, like scarves and all that stuff. And make sure you are liking and subscribing this video. Leave some comments in the section. Let's get controversial if we need to, but share this video with anybody you think that needs to see it. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel for all my training videos and weekly updates. Thanks for watching.